Anybody surprised by the way that it was only 1-1, considering all the chances that we saw between the two?
We said it before, didn't we? Up to like 85 minutes, we were like, I'd have put my life on it that this goal has both teams to score. Thankfully, it got there in the end, but it just felt like Newcastle, a team that Grella's been really high on for a while, were fantastic. Again, I got to work the first game before I came over here, and it was carbon copy. Newcastle were great on the break. Everything that Newcastle do as a team is the opposite to what Barcelona want. Strong, physical, tall, aggressive, you name it. They're running behind without the ball. And it just worked out. They should have probably scored, what, 5 or 6, Grill?
Yeah, it was a really good game. And like Troy says, Newcastle is built to beat them. They're more athletic than them. They're stronger than them. There was so many plays in the game where Barcelona players putting their foot on the ball and wiggling it. And Newcastle guy, Joe Linton, went, boom, see you later, boom, knocking them down. The way they recovered the football in the midfield, they won the midfield battle. They won the battle at the back. They broke the lines. They went wide. They did everything they could. Newcastle is missing the last polished moment inside the box, the final ball that leads to a goal, or the final finish that leads to a goal. Thank God Barnes came on and had a little bit of composure, but it could have been 2 or 3-0, I thought, at large moments of that game. But in both boxes, they're like that little bit level lower than the Champions League sides. But when you talk about the physicality of the game, you talk about transitional moments, you talk about just desire, the engines on those guys is frightening.
And it was either under-hit, over-hit, hits the goalkeeper.
Dare I say it, they are missing Isak, aren't they? Dare I say it, if he was there.
What about the XG, though? I know you boys don't love that, but 2.58, that's pretty high, isn't it? To have 10 shots on target combined. Yes, OK, Barcelona play this high line, but Newcastle also were amazing going forward.
I like XG when it proves my point. When it doesn't, then I don't like it. But yeah, no, there was supposedly a meeting in Barcelona. The players had a meeting and said, hey, listen, we need to sort this back line out because they're conceding too many easy goals. And they tried to do that, but Newcastle was still able, in 2 passes, 3 passes, to be able to find that moment. To Troy's point, it was not, we showed the missed packages, right, the missed chances. It was the ball that was before the final ball. That was killing them a little bit. When to play it, the pace of how they played it, which foot they played it to. Elanga got into so many good opportunities tonight and didn't take full advantage of it. Like, they exploited it perfect. Eddie Howe had to, for me, manage the game perfectly. You couldn't manage it any better. And then, you know, to the point you were saying when you first came on about Malik Chow, it's like, when he first went over there, the big center back, from Milan, Newcastle fans were like, how did we get this guy? Because he's a monster. He's a monster. He's athletic. He's good in the air. He anticipates the game well. He's really good with his body. But the reason why they were able to get him from Milan and Milan let him go was that last moment that you see in the game, that little bit of switch off, that little dangle, because he had other guys around him, didn't need to do that. But that last little moment where he makes a mistake that actually affects the game, he did that at Milan all the time. Where he would make a big mistake, get a red card, or create a penalty that didn't need to be done. And that happened, by the way, the last kick of the game was the penalty. So that's where, for me, Newcastle, you know, if they can fix those moments where they're a little bit cleaner, a little bit smarter, then I think they can go through to the next round.
It's the physical tiredness, because we've done that before when we played in our time, where you're playing in games, very big games, and it gets that 90-plus minute. You are physically drained, but as players, managers teach you to be mentally sharp and strong. And that minute there, like you said with Chow, didn't have to dangle a leg. Just be big, see the game out, think no unnecessary risk, especially when you're a defender. The mindset is defend, stay on your feet. Anything you go to ground in games like this, especially against big opposition like Barcelona, the referee will give something. So it's just that mental strength. And then when you talk about the attacking side as well, when you look at all the teams that's left in, we got to watch also Bayern Munich today that we'll go on to later. When you talk about efficiency in that final third, that is what Bayern Munich are. When they win, they are efficient with it, and that is what Newcastle are lacking, that real efficiency. Because when they're in the final third, there's an element of them being still raw. And that's why I use the word raw, because it's still like not understanding they're in a great moment, taking that time on that pass, making sure that final pass is right, and taking the real advantage of that opportunity. But doing the Golazo show, I thought that Newcastle would get the job done. I really did. I could see a goal coming, and that would be a great lead to take for the second leg to Barcelona. But obviously,
they're still alive, by the way. I have no doubt they'll go to Barcelona and do the same exact game and have many chances to win the game.
Well, Hansi Flick said after the game that Barcelona is going to look completely different in the second leg, whatever that means. But speaking of the managers, let's hear from Eddie Howe after the game.
Eddie's so close, and a real sense of deflation at the end, which feels tough on your team.
Yeah, really tough. I think focusing on the game itself, I thought we were outstanding. Really, really good performance against a very good team. I thought we were very good in both halves. We kept the intensity up, which is very difficult to do against them for so long in the game. And yeah, the moment at the end obviously taints that in a negative light, but I think one of our best performances.
Do you have any question marks about the penalty?
No, I think it's soft, but I think Malik makes contact, so that once the referee gives it, you know it's not going to be overturned.
Yeah, you know when you're getting so close to what would have felt like a really special win. The other side of that is the way that you haven't managed to cross the line. Do you fear a reaction, how much it might hurt the players?
That's my job.
Is that your challenge?
It's my job to try and pick them up, and I think we've unfortunately had to do that a few times this season, so I don't think it's new for us. I think in some senses the strength of character should never be in doubt. We've done it time and time again. We have a difficult Premier League game in between. The return leg, we'll focus on that now. But we'll be ready by the time it comes around. The players will be, of course, super motivated to do well.
Yeah, so there's a lot of hope still that you'll be back here for a quarter-final in the Champions League.
I think there's hope, of course there is. We believe in ourselves, we believe in our capabilities. I think we've shown that today.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you.
Well, I think you all agree with him that maybe they're disappointed with the draw. They could have deserved more. But you were just saying, Troy, you're always really impressed with how Eddie Howe handles the media.
Yeah, because he gives you just enough that you go, oh, we've got an insight, but he never goes all the way. You look to Nigel's point about Igor Tudor and, you know, the way he's throwing the players under the bus. The interviewer there asked him, you know, is it a bit of a gut check at the end? He's like, it's my job to pick him up. That's kind of what he's got. He's now has to... His debrief tomorrow is going to be fantastic because it's going to be, look, there's the goal. Unfortunately, we could have done that better. However, here's 75 plays where if we just clean it up at the end, we score. We'll go to the new camp and won't feel worried at all because we know Barcelona are going to play their way. They're going to have that high line. Pitch is even bigger than St James's Park. We'll have even more chances. Oh, and by the way, Anthony Gordon will be back, the top goal scorer, because he was ill. That's why he was on the bench. So everything he'll do will be positive, and it will make this Newcastle team feel like we were still in with a real chance.
They made Barcelona look average for 90 minutes, very average. They didn't look dangerous at all. They bodied them. That midfield, I would show that to my midfield any day of the week. That clip of the midfield three, the way they played that game, Tonali, Joelinton in there. They were so good. The recovery runs, the engines, the way the intensity of the match was played. That was such a fun.
You made a great point in the green room, which was you'd be proud to coach that team or play for that team or even be part of it. And that's what you want to feel like. We have nothing to do with Newcastle, but when you're watching how they play, how they run, how they work, players coming in off the bench, it comes in, it's still to the same exact tempo. That's what you want to be associated with.
And it's the first time they've ever been in this point of the competition, isn't it? So that was impressive today that they'll leave it to be decided in Spain. You still got them going through, Grell?
I'll stick with it. Of course, it's going to be difficult for them, but it's 50-50.
Yeah.
It's against Newcastle against Barcelona. It doesn't sound like it, but it's 50-50 game.
You had them in your bracket. You boys both had Barcelona.
I had this as to be my upset. Newcastle are very capable. Everything that Grell and Troy have said about the team and everything they are is completely right. I look at them going away. The word I'll associate for their second leg is discipline. If they can be disciplined in their approach, still stick to their principle, maybe a bit of luck, they can get the job done. You can't rule them out. And I think any realistic Barcelona fan will know that we're in for a tough game second leg, regardless of what Hansi Flick says, because he can say it's going to be different, but it's the same blueprint. They will not move from how they play.
I got Barcelona going through.